she adopts the role of a fashion photographer and is quite successful at it, but does butt heads with a few people in the industry kind of as she's going through. So this series here, From Bathhouse to Krakow, was published in 1975 in Vogue, and it was the first major work that put her on the map photographically. So she'd been taking images for 5 to 10 years prior, but nothing that was published, nothing that was in print, putting her name out there as a photographer. And this series is quite different from what was expected in 1975. If you had to guess what product, what clothing item they might be selling in these images, what would your guess be? So this image here, there's this blurring and ghosting of the figure's face. Something like taking a longer exposure so that she can move the camera during the photograph and have a doubling of their face. Very similar to this one here where that's being reproduced. This image as well just being a blurry image. Things that are all considered bad for photographs. Photographs that wouldn't be printed, photographs that wouldn't be valuable long term. She's really making it her own signature and saying, I can tell narrative through my approach technically. And then there's tropes that she does employ that are more conventional. So for instance, this portrait has a very typical type of framing that you might see in old Hollywood films. Images like this that are a bit more editorial in their nature, where it is showing off the clothing a bit more directly. There's no motion blur. After about 20 years in fashion industry as an editor and slowly stepping into being a photographer, she moved from New York to Paris, and these images were produced in Paris at the School of Fine Arts. And she was really interested again in history and in time and their relationship to images, but more broadly, how we think about history and how history, maybe our understandings of it can kind of mutate through time.
I was just trying to do you.
In this section, I wanted to just draw attention to this quote from Deborah Tucker. So she says, I wanted to take photographs that were outside time, of people in today's world with an atmosphere of the past reflected in their faces, of palaces and gardens abandoned and overgrown, photographs that retain a history. So I think that sums up all of her work quite well. This idea that the photographs are outside of time, the idea that there's an atmosphere reflected in the people in the photograph, and that there's a sense of history that's been retained through the imagery itself. Not necessarily a literal translation or description or even a literal depiction of that history, but there's an atmosphere of something carried over from those histories that are maybe not accessible to us anymore. So these photographs of unseen Versailles were taken in the palace.
Do you guys notice this figure in the back here? What do you think of this guy?
It's kind of reminiscent of the house one.
Yeah, it's quite unsettling, I think. It's almost alien. He's even creeping behind here, looking at you. Yeah. Like Bryce was saying, I think it's more of like a ghostly figure. You know, he's like haunting the palace. Kind of representing like, the negative aspects of all this opulence and wealth that is, doesn't really exist in the same way anymore. And I think it really speaks to how like unsustainable this kind of lifestyle was at the time. I don't think Versailles could have lasted hundreds of years longer than it did. And I think she's very much trying to communicate that. You can see like dead leaves and nature making their way into the palace on the floor there. These parts of the palace were not nearly as well kept as the rest of it that is normally on display to the public.
But like you said, things dehumanized, so just not that
No, you don't have to
zooming in and out.
celebrate that specificity, right? They have a very specific narrative on it.
Great, thanks everyone. We're going to head back out into the
Show my
lobby
friend
and we'll
from
collect
Mexico.
all our things, and then we'll head over and do the
that's Jamaican for musicals.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, she has a.
Other culture she's trying to document, or are they biased with her worldview, being from other parts of the world? Is she subjecting the people in these photos in like an unfair light that's not authentic? Or
Guys.
Hey! Hey! No, I'm gonna put him in the room with Damien. I don't trust him because he's dared.
I'm the third.
He's a baby, but he has mad energy. Especially when there's crowds of people. He tries to get everybody's attention. And he's teething, FYI, but it doesn't hurt. He literally doesn't chomp down. He just kind of na.
Yeah, he's teething on my side.
Yeah, because I was reading online of that lack of appetite, etc. He has all the symptoms, so I called his vet,
Yeah.
and he said, yeah, he's
Guess not your house. I'm now on the posting fam. You know with you, you know Winston. If you're looking at my notes, just alone it song. My parents are pastor, them know me, is no Christian. She ask if my lover and I don't respond. Your pussy tight but your throat is long. As I sin, I'm only love boring girl. Cause good girl boring bad. Love pussy don't forget. Can't bring your band date, me nah me knock. Me wear am for your wall like taxi back. Better you never wear jazz if you plan for job. I just cock the crotch, me we slam out your hole till you handicap. Bring you anywhere on the map, me we pay for slap because top for tax. Bumbo class, me now want the posting fam.